So I'd love to hear your thoughts. One, what does brand advocacy mean to you? And then how do you create brand advocates?
I think it was Mark Pritchard at P&G recently was sharing with me that the original model of how people found out about goods and services, let's say in consumer packaged goods, was kind of the Sam Drucker on Green Acres, the guy who had the little general store. And you went into the general store, and the general store operator, he knew you, he knew your family, he knew your preferences, knew things would come into the store, and he would say to you, here's something you probably want to check out. But with the advent of television, the television set replaced that general store operator as the point of reference. That's where people got their reference points. So the emergence now of social media, that reference point is a person's, the go-to is a person's social network. And so, you know, brand advocacy, at least as I see it, is the notion of, maybe the point he made is that they were at a place where they were almost at a place of willing to say that the creation of an advocate may well be more important to them than the creation of a customer because of the multiplier effect.
I think advocacy, though, is a derivative. Advocacy is something that you get as a result of a positive customer experience. You don't say, that the analogy I was thinking about as I was walking over here tonight, you don't get advocacy, it's like saying I want to lose weight, right? Well, losing weight is a derivative of eating healthy, exercising, et cetera, so it's a derivative. You can't say I want an advocate. Like, an advocate is an outgrowth, it's a derivative of a positive customer experience where you've over-delivered value relative to what the value of that relationship was.
I think in the social media space, there's a temptation to create advocates, and companies try to take shortcuts and promote products to early adopters and pay people to advocate for their brands, and that's actually undermining the whole idea of advocacy and creating a certain amount of skepticism about the online communities and who's saying what and why they're saying it. And so now you're looking for the authentic advocate, and that really has to be someone who experiences your products without any type of influence.
We used to call them at Kraft key influencers, because there are certain personality types that have a propensity to share and be leaders, and I found this and I know this. And if you just think, I'm assuming everyone's on Facebook, and they actually have segmented the types of people that are on Facebook. And you have stalkers, you have people that are there and never share anything, but they always look at their friends' pictures, and so they're very engaged, but they're not people that are going to talk about it necessarily or comment on it. And to me, that's the dilemma, is you don't just want the talkers. You want the loyalists that are sort of those quiet, solid citizens, if you will, that if asked, at a party, would say, I always buy Oscar Mayer cold cuts. But aren't going to necessarily volunteer, and post that on their Facebook page and tweet it. And
I always find them to be the most gregarious of all.
Exactly. They're the best people. Always invite them to your parties.
Yeah, but really, what is brand advocacy? Because there's been brand advocates forever.
Absolutely.
What we're doing today is we look at social media and say, that's a vehicle. I mean, before it was writing letters, to be a brand advocate, making a telephone call to customer service, whatever, and I think we have a desegregation of saying brand advocacy and social media. It's not. It's just a vehicle.
It's a channel.
That is just a way of communicating today. That's all social media is. So when you look at brand advocacy, you got to look at it separately, I think, than social media. I mean, you can get a gazillion thumbs up. That doesn't mean they're going to go back to you in a heartbeat. Okay, so that doesn't mean they're a brand advocate because they have a thumbs up. I mean, they like what they saw at that minute.
They're a passive advocate, and I think to the point of being,
you got it.
From a derivative, it's, so what is the ways that a person who feels passionate about something, whether they're gregarious or they're quietly confident in their choice can express it in the right way. And I think it's up to us to find those right channels that come through. So whether it's Facebook or something that's more aggressive or less aggressive, what's the way you can get anyone from being kind of a quiet supporter to an aggressive supporter to share their thoughts about an organization or a product or a service?
I would challenge the notion that the customer is the only one that can advocate for you. I think there's an opportunity to apply advocacy at the top of the funnel. If your brand stands for an issue or a cause that's important to someone, that person can advocate on your behalf because you represent that issue or that cause, and they've never experienced your product. And I think that's one of the places where I believe we have an opportunity to apply advocacy where we've not previously in the past. Because of social media, we have this platform to have people out there championing our association with issues, trends, causes that are important to them, and they don't necessarily consume our products.
As we've been doing a lot of brand advocate work with one of our clients. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, we did a session of friendship groups in Columbus where we identified an advocate for this brand that we work for. And the point is, they don't do it for you. They don't do it for the brand. They're not advocates because of the brand. Yeah. There is an experience that they've had that triggers that. But we say you can't create an advocate. Only 20 to 25% of the population, to your point, is that personality. You can't create them. You can activate them or trigger them by giving them a great customer experience, but they don't do it for the brand. They do it for themselves because they consider themselves experts or knowledgeable about a subject, and they do it for their friends. They want to help their friends. So, oh, you're looking for this? You know, I had this great experience. You should go try that. And you can't buy them. They don't want the payment. That's not it. They want insider information that helps them be more knowledgeable, more of an expert for their friends. And that was something we learned about. You can't create them. You have to trigger or activate them by bringing them on the inside and giving them knowledge that few people have. And that's the trigger of an advocate.
You know, USG, the internal brand advocacy is a very interesting dynamic right now because, well, two things. One, the general market economy, and then two, trying to become more of a global organization. But the culture at USG has been so strong that employees are just natural advocates for the brand. People come to that company and they never leave. And over the past 5 years, we've had maybe 7 rounds of layoffs. So you've watched these people that you have grown up with leave the organization, and we find ourselves today in this situation where we have to rebuild employees that have been very loyal brand advocates and enthusiasts for USG, kind of rebuild them up again. And the folks that are from the outside, new to the organization, have gone through this kind of tumultuous time, they don't really get it. So they're not really, they're just happy to have a job. They're not really true advocates for USG and the culture, what it stands for. So we find ourselves right now really trying to rebuild that, now almost starting from scratch. And then you kind of couple that with trying to become more of a global organization and not really knowing what the culture even is here and how it should be defined and how we're building it, and then trying to make that global has become a huge, huge challenge.
Is there a difference between loyalty and advocacy, though?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Sure.
What do you see as the difference?
Loyalty is inside, advocacy is outside. I think loyalty might be more emotional, advocacy is more rational, you know.
No, I think it's the reverse.
Do you think so?
I'm a hostage and I'm loyal to my airline. Right? Just stuck into the miles, the whole deal. That's totally different than advocacy, which is, I think, emotional. I mean, and there's...
I think it can go both ways. Because back to the point that someone made earlier
if you're really loyal, I was being facetious about what loyalty can mean. I mean, I have an airline that I use most of the time just because I'm sucked in and the miles and the whole thing and the upgrades. But I don't like it really. It's not a very good experience.
That's a forced loyalty.
Not an advocate, right? So, I call myself a hostage.
We're in the consulting environment, so I don't have a lot of products I'm selling. My products are people. And It's interesting, we find ourselves fighting all the time with all the technology and all the noise out there. The reality is, I don't need to respond to a lot of that, I just need to let it happen because it's not influencing my buyers one little bit. And we've had some recent examples where there was stuff out there and you'd ask our buyers if they could care less about it. But particularly in the consulting environment, finding advocates is very difficult. And if you ask them to be advocates, it becomes even more difficult. But we found a lot of situations where if we put clients who are very loyal to us, and loyal to us is defined as repeat clients that come back to us year after year on different matters and things that really make a difference to their business, when you get a lot of loyalists together, or repeat clients together in very comfortable environments, and you need to be thought leadership based or more relationship based, they begin to converse with each other. With no pressure around them, they begin to advocate on our behalf amongst each other. And even if they're not both currently clients, if we have others in there that are potentially, they kind of fit the mold of what our clients would look like, they begin to talk about their experiences and begin to advocate amongst each other. And so we've actually found, absent a lot of the technology and stuff, it still gets back to that. When people are face-to-face in non-pressure, non-sales feeling environments, they will quickly become advocates if it's something they feel passionate about.